October the 31st saw an important event in the Federation year with the launch of our Public Affairs Agenda at a reception in the House of Commons. The event was a great success and was attended by over 160 people, including members, trade guests and over 40 MPs and peers. Our Public Affairs Agenda for the coming year clearly identifies the issues on which we will be campaigning vigorously on behalf of our members. There are 8 key areas on which we will focus, and the document we have produced sets this out clearly, both in terms of where our concerns lay and what we would like to see done. We have chosen these carefully and thought deeply and responsibly, and the result is not a fanciful wish list, but a serious practical list of solutions that will make a real difference to ensure the future health of a sector that is under pressure, and yet which we feel is of enormous importance to the country. As independent small businesses, we have every right to be proud of the service we provide and proud too of the contributions we make to the country, both socially and economically. At a social level, good local shops are a vital part of thousands of communities around the country. As well as being a convenient place to buy all sorts of goods, they offer millions of people a preferred way of paying utility bills, cash and cheques, topping up mobile phones and travel cards, or any number of similar services. For the elderly or infirm, they are a lifeline. But they are so much more, and in many locations the local shop is pivotal to the community life. What we know is that where a community loses its local shop, they are the poorer for it, and that social decline usually follows. In terms of the economic challenges the country faces, we can also be a force for good. Our members already provide employment for over 100,000 people, including thousands of young people. As the Chief Executive of the London Stock Exchange put it, faced with rising unemployment, the country's 4.8 million small businesses, each employing one extra person, is a far easier objective to achieve than each of the FTSE Top 100 employing 48,000. So in making our case in the 8 areas we have identified, we start from a fundamental belief that small retail businesses like those we represent are and can be even more a force for good, both socially and economically. Despite this, we do find ourselves disadvantaged, and our Public Affairs Agenda sets out some steps that we believe will give us a fair opportunity to trade and contribute, and that is all we seek. Today we are publishing our Public Affairs Agenda for the coming year and identifying clearly the issues on which we will be campaigning vigorously on behalf of members. There are 8 key areas on which we will focus, and the document we have produced sets these out clearly, both in terms of where our concerns lay and what we would like to see done. So in making our case in the 8 areas we have identified, we start from a fundamental belief that small retail businesses like those we represent are and can be even more a force for good, both socially and economically. Despite this, we do find ourselves disadvantaged, and our Public Affairs Agenda sets out some steps that we believe will give us a fair opportunity to trade and contribute, and that is all we seek. Thank you all again for coming tonight. If you share our views on the importance of the independent shops to our national life, I hope you will add your support to our campaigns. Thank you.
I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight to support your constituents. Wonderful. But I have to say to you, unless your presence here this evening is backed up by action, then we really have a great problem. We can no longer take these good people who work morning, noon and night to run these retail agents. We cannot take them for granted. They don't work a 38-hour week, they work a 138-hour week. So all I'm asking parliamentarians to do is not forget it, the message 5 minutes after they leave here, but to think about the 8 points which are included in the manifesto. I represent Southend West, which is full of small shopkeepers. And my message to local residents, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Rome is burning. We need help, support now. This is a very precious gift that we have with these small retail outlets. So I do appeal to parliamentarians, please do everything that you can to support this wonderful federation, remembering the words of our president throughout the next year. So 3 cheers for the federation. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Eat, drink and be merry, and remember you've been framed.
Then the Mayo came in with a standing knife and threatened us, and yes, we handed over the contents of the till.
A couple of people, they have regular crime once a week. But even we have had problems with increased shoplifting, knife crime, that kind of thing.
We have now set up a National Business Crime Forum actually to deal with all these issues on crime.
We actually had a relative of a member killed in our district a couple of years ago, and for somebody just going about the normal business to be put in that situation is just diabolical.
2 of my colleagues in the Federation, one in a little village called Bishop Midland, has had a break-in, and the lady is now afraid to go in the shop by herself.
More shopkeepers were murdered last year in the shops than all the emergency service put together. It's not right that people going to work and working 7 days a week should have to fear for their lives.
The weekend when the pubs come out, we're open to 10:30, so it can get a bit rough then.
It's virtually considered like spitting in the street, dropping litter, dropping a cigarette butt, an on-the-spot fine, dog fouling, on-the-spot fine, and stealing from shops, an on-the-spot fine. I mean, it's nearly not an illegal act.
We're working with the police, with the local communities to try and reduce the level of crime. But of course small shops have it especially difficulty because they've got to invest in things like CCTV. If the windows get broken, the money's coming straight to their pockets. It's not coming from some corporate insurance policy.
To lose one good from a small retailer can wipe out a day's profit. So absolutely more must be done to stop people stealing goods from small retailers.
As the recession bites, people do turn to petty crime, and I would just encourage, shop owners to, take precautions, make sure they've got CCTV.
I think the important thing is a good relationship within a community with the local police force to make sure that they're aware of the issues that there are in that area.
We need to protect the shopkeepers as well. Through the various ways to do that is either through the local police, but also to make it as an important crime for the police. And I'm pleased to say that the Conservative government has said that it will treat retail crime as important as personal crime.
The police aren't working for us voluntarily, we pay them. And I think it's beholden on them to take very seriously when a small independent retailer reports a theft.
The cost of getting the stuff delivered, carriage charges, we're on the highest band. £50 a week we pay to get the papers delivered.
The wholesalers, the publishers are affecting the way our businesses run. We cannot dictate our own profitability because at a whim they can wipe 3-4% off a margin. They can increase service charges, and we can't pass those charges on with products that are all price marked. I have to charge 30 pence for the Sun. I can't charge 35.
But it's the charges which the wholesaler also inflicts on us, and we've got no control over these. We have no control over who our supplier is. We've got no control over the quantity or the quality of the magazines and newspapers that we get. And really, if we don't get some help, we're going to be right out of the picture.
Publisher decides he wants to increase. He can have extra money on it because he can just put the price up. But what we're finding a lot of what's happening these days is we're not getting a share of that anymore. They're putting the price up for themselves and cutting our margin. Now, we have no control. And every time there's an increase in the carriage charges, that squeezes the margin. And it's like the death of 1,000 cuts.
it's a complaint that I've heard. There is a sector that does have overhead and costs, so they do need to address those. But I think it's something that MPs across all parties can actually take up, yes.
My local news agents have been to see me about, for example, the wholesale situation with regards to newspapers. Complete unknown world to me up till then. Obviously, they've not been well served by the Office of Fair Trading, who've taken a view about whether there's enough competition, and they've assumed that there is, even though there doesn't appear to be much competition. But that kind of thing, getting the information across, sharing your problems, even if I don't have the solution, I'm going to look for a solution if I know the problem.
We have to pay business rates on top of our normal domestic rates.
If you have got two shops, one the business rate's £20,000 per annum, the other one's £6,000, so I can't do anything. Now, supermarkets, hypermarkets, they're not rated on their car parks, they're not rated on anything. They get that free. People can't park outside my shop for more than 20 minutes.
Business rates are a big part of a business cost, and we have to be aware of that, because the danger that we have is that business costs go up too much. They won't be able to employ people, they won't make a profit, and they won't contribute to the tax take of the country. So I'm aware of those issues. Nevertheless, rates do also contribute to the local community. They help to pay for facilities and services that are provided by local councils. So it's getting the balance right between the two.
Been conned upside down by the multi-bills all of our lives. All they care about is profit. They don't care about communities, they don't care about high streets, they care about one thing alone, and that's whether if they call Tesco, they care about Tesco.
A Tesco opened across the road, so obviously going to be selling papers. I approached John regarding, I think it was agreement for them not to sell papers. So that's basically what John helped me with, but unfortunately we didn't have much joy with Tesco. They did not respond.
Tesco's are a law unto themselves. They will make undertakings in order to sort of get their feet under the table, as it were. They will say anything to a council in order to get their way. They have very clever PR people to represent them, and they have a almost predatory instinct for where they ought to go next.
The supermarkets are able to sign up fantastic deals with the farmers, with the suppliers, and small shops don't have that bulk buying advantage that the supermarkets do, so it does make things very difficult.
So I do think that retailers have to accept there is competition from supermarkets, but the important thing is that competition should be in a level playing field, so that local small shops should be able to compete as best they can with the supermarkets. So things like cost of beer and things like that, I think they have to have them at a level playing field, so that the local shop has every chance of getting the customers, as does the
supermarkets. Have got a gun to all of our heads. It's reached a situation whereby, because they've been cutting costs, and when things are tight as they are at the moment, lots of families are forced to go to supermarkets. But it's wrong.
The problem I have with the cost of alcohol, and it's mainly, I'm not picking on the supermarkets, it is mainly the supermarkets. You come up to Christmas time, Easter time, the World Cup time, they start selling alcohol for silly prices. 2-3 cases of alcohol for £16 to £20. When you're paying 35 to 40 pence for a can of beer, and I'm afraid you can't buy a bottle of water in my shop for less than 50. When alcohol is cheaper than water, something's wrong.
They are given an unfair advantage. And one of those advantages is in terms of selling alcohol at below cost. That can't be acceptable. We want small independent retailers to have the same opportunity to compete as our supermarkets.
I do think it should be, it's up to government to legislate against things such as that, because, people are drinking more and more.
And if you can go and buy very cheap alcohol from a supermarket, it puts pubs out of businesses as well. So I think small retailers, pubs, they've all got the same interests, and they need to make sure that the supermarkets can't undercut them. They can't sell cheap booze to underage kids and cause many of the antisocial problems we've been talking about.
I think we're at the heart of many local communities. I think a lot of communities, once they lose the local shops, I think they lose their heart. I think when the shops disappear from a town, I think the towns and villages start dying.
They're the shops that are open from first thing in the morning, often sometimes till the last thing at night. As an MP, with our strange hours we keep, I rely upon them to get my newspapers, first thing on the morning. I rely upon them last thing at night when I'm, on the way home.
When there's a problem, they're interested. Whereas when you go to Sainsbury's, when you go to one of the big retailers, you don't have that local community feel.
And it's a place that people go along to collect their papers or small purchases, and they're an integral part of the community. And secondly, I think they've got an economic benefit in the area as well. They employ people.
Not only do small shops provide a huge amount of employment in this country, but also provides for diversity and choice, which is one of the things that people like. And I hear it time and time again, people want to have diversity and they like the convenience of local shops.
Small shops are so important for our local communities that we've got to make sure it works. The manifesto launched today is brilliant. It's now putting it into action.
I think the role of the independent newsagent is one who is someone who not only sells newspapers, magazines and everything else that goes along with that, but also are part of the community to provide information to individuals and get to know their customers particularly, something that if you have a larger type of newsagent, they're not always able to do.
Small retail outlets are at the heart of every community. These are the businesses who have the time to speak to people, and their support really is absolutely fundamental among politicians such as myself. We've got to do more to support small independent retailers or we'll lose them.
Every MP that we've spoken to has clearly identified with their consumers and their constituents. They fully understand that newsagents, convenience stores, small businesses in the locality are critical to the survival of communities. We know that when a community has strong local shops, they survive and thrive. And when they haven't got them, when supermarkets are allowed to come in and destroy communities, that always social decline happens. It's well documented. Evidence from Ireland, which has been more prevalent in protecting local shops against supermarket dominance, has ensured that local shops survive and their communities thrive. Our communities aren't thriving because there is no protection. All we ask for is a level playing field. We're not asking for special protection, we just want it to be fair.
We need somebody higher up to do the shouting for us, like the MPs.
Because it's important that we raise the profile, we raise the issues, and we make ourselves heard.
Keep trying your best, keep attending the meetings, and pass the messages to MPs and so on, so we can constructively create a good federation.
If we're not in it, we can't win it.
And we need to make it a more level playing field.
I genuinely believe that the independent sector has a role to play within local communities as part of the bedrock of our local communities. And as such, I've met many independent suppliers in my area, and I intend to meet more of them. And also I've been asked to take part and actually serve across the counter. So it's something I'm looking forward to doing in the near future.
This has been a wonderful gathering to listen to the address of our President launching these 8 manifesto proposals. It's now beholden on parliamentarians such as myself and others in the Commons and Lords now to, in real terms, support our independent small retailers. We must do everything we can to help newsagents at this difficult time, because if we don't, we'll lose them.
We need action and we need it now.
Dave Bruton is right, and what we now need is action. And I can assure you that is what we'll deliver, action.
The House of Commons launch of our public affairs agenda for the coming year has got our campaign off to a very positive start, but we know it's just that, a start. We now have to do the real work. That means a lot of detailed action to plan a programme of activity for each of our key areas, to ensure that all the bases are covered, and we develop and maintain the momentum of our campaign activity. The Public Affairs Committee have started this process and will soon publish a comprehensive plan which delivers our objectives, and they will use the opportunity of our Public Affairs reports to National Council to keep you appraised of our progress against the agreed plan, together with regular updates through our email cannon and website. But don't think you can just leave it to others. The success of our campaigns depends on all of us working together to achieve our goals, and there is so much more that you and all members need to do. Get your MP involved. Let him know how important this is to you, your customers and the community. Sign the government's e-petition calling for a referral of the newspaper and magazine industry. Use the Press for Reform website to comment and let the world know your views and opinions. Visit NFR Online for news and information and the useful downloads it contains. And attend your district and branch meetings to get the views of others and plan local activities. And tell us how we can support you. We've reorganised and strengthened our public affairs team with Graham Collins supporting the excellent work Nikki Hayward does. Their joint experience and skills will ensure that we get our arguments across clearly and effectively. They are here to help you. If we all work together and use all our resources, I know we will make progress on these important issues. So please make sure that you get behind our efforts and support fully all initiatives we undertake on your behalf. I genuinely believe we are now gaining a lot of support for our social argument that local independent shops have a vibrant and vital role to play in our national life, both economically and socially. This provides a real-life context that the public understand and have sympathy with and will therefore add their support to our campaigns. I look forward to meeting as many of you as I visit the districts and look forward to hearing from you about the progress being made. Thank you and good luck.